In tonight's headlines, 12 people are jailed for up to 6 years and 10 months in connection with the storming of the Legislative Council complex in 2019. A driver faces a manslaughter charge after an elderly woman dies from injuries 1 day after a hit-and-run incident. And a lorry driver is trapped in his vehicle after a spectacular crash in Lau Fau Shan.
People were driven to West Kowloon Court this morning to be sentenced for rioting during the storming of the Legislative Council complex back in 2019. 4 of them, including actor Gregory Wong, were convicted after a trial. 8 others had pleaded guilty earlier. In handing down sentence, Deputy District Judge Lee Chi-ho noted that although Wong had only stayed in the building for 5 minutes, it was not a strong mitigating factor. He said the actor's presence had encouraged and supported the protesters who felt their action was recognized. But Wong's participation level was low. The judge took a starting point of 6.5 years for sentencing. But as the actor had no criminal conviction and agreed with the prosecution's case most of the time, he was jailed for 6 years and 2 months. Activist Ventus Lau was among those who pleaded guilty. Even though he did not cause any damage to the structure, the judge said the 30-year-old played a crucial role. The activist had discussed with protesters whether they should stay or leave, showing that he led and incited others. By doing so, the judge said Lau increased the possibility of a riot. The judge took 7 years as the starting point for sentencing, but reduced it because the activist had admitted the charge. Lau was jailed for 4.5 years. Another activist, Owen Chow, who also pleaded guilty, was jailed for 5 years and 1 month for his active participation in the incident. The other 9 defendants were given prison terms ranging from 4 years and 7 months to 6 years and 10 months. 2 journalists, Ma Kai-chung and Wong Ka-ho, who were earlier acquitted of rioting, were fined up to $1,500 after pleading guilty to entering or remaining in the precincts of the Legislative Chamber. Janice Low, Cable News.
A 66-year-old woman has succumbed to her injuries after being hit by a car in Shamshui-po on Friday night. Dashcam footage captured the hit-and-run on Castle Peak Road. As police officers tried to intercept a car, it sped away and mounted the pavement, knocking down the woman. She suffered extensive bleeding and was certified dead yesterday afternoon. The car collided with 4 other vehicles before coming to a stop a few blocks away, with the driver escaping on foot. Senior Inspector Yang Tit-ho said the driver was quickly identified after he left his identity card at the scene. After combing through surveillance footage, officers rushed to a public housing unit in Shek Lei, where the suspect was believed to be holed up. The man was gone, but his 19-year-old friend was detained on suspicion of aiding a suspect. The driver was eventually arrested last night at an undisclosed location. Chief Inspector Chen Ki-fong said the 22-year-old now faces manslaughter and also drug trafficking charges after 50 grams of cocaine and methamphetamine were found in the vehicle. He said that compared to the lesser charge of dangerous driving causing death, manslaughter better reflected the severity of the case. The vehicle's 32-year-old owner was also arrested on a drug trafficking charge and appeared in Fanning Magistracy for mention this morning. Ray Minyan, Cable News. A truck driver was sent to hospital after he lost control of his vehicle in Tin Shui Wai this afternoon. The accident took place at around 2 p.m. on Ping Ha Road. According to surveillance footage, the driver swerved to the left after realizing he was in the wrong lane. That caused the truck to ram into the fences before it tipped over and collided into the noise barrier outside Shatao Leichun. The driver's leg was trapped in the cabin, and rescuers eventually freed him from the wreckage after 2 hours. He was sent to hospital in a conscious state.
About 300 people headed to the Fire and Ambulance Services Academy in Changkwano this morning to see if they are fit enough to join. It's the first time the event has been held since entry requirements were adjusted last December. Candidates were given 90 seconds to perform a pronated chin-up instead of doing it thrice in just 1 minute. If it was too challenging, they could opt for the inclined version, but they had to do it 3 times in 90 seconds. In the past, those who wore spectacles could not be recruited as operational station officers. But now that the requirement has been lifted, it has enabled many more people to achieve their dream of becoming firefighters. After the old arrangement was scrapped, I am more confident in getting the job as my glasses will not be a stumbling block, said this final year university student. Divisional Officer Kevin Chan said the number of applicants has surged by 60% since the entry requirements were adjusted. In the past, only 5 and 10 candidates passed the physical test. But now, the rate has increased to at least 90%. Janice Low, Cable News.
Israel's relentless assault on Gaza has claimed more Palestinian lives. At least 36 people, including pregnant women and children, were among the latest to be killed when an airstrike destroyed their building in the center of the coastal enclave. Their deaths were reported as the Palestinian Health Ministry accused Israeli forces of opening fire on people waiting for food in northern Gaza. 20 Palestinians were killed and 160 wounded. Witnessed while Al Mamluk said Israeli tanks shelled people waiting for the arrival of an aid convoy. Planes and drones joined in the attack. Israel claimed that Palestinian gunmen opened fire. As the Palestinian death toll climbed to 31,500, fear is growing among the 1.5 million people sheltering in the southernmost Gaza city of Rafah. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has approved a plan to attack the city to destroy Hamas, who are holding some Israeli hostages. His allies have warned of a catastrophe if nothing is done for Rafah's civilian population.
And without doubt, we know that a military offensive in Rafah, without a credible plan what to do to protect the civilians, would trigger a humanitarian disaster. We urgently need a humanitarian pause to get the hostages out of Gaza and more humanitarian aid into Gaza.
An aid ship has arrived in Gaza, opening a small maritime lifeline to the over 2 million Palestinians trapped in the besieged enclave. The ship brought 200 tons of rice, flour, and canned food, which starving Palestinians desperately need after Israel restricted supplies to Gaza. Another vessel is scheduled to follow, but relief agencies are pleading for more food and faster delivery. The situation is critical. The United Nations Children's Agency UNICEF says acute malnutrition in Gaza has doubled in the past month. At least 23 Palestinian children have already starved to death.
What we see in Gaza is that it's a nightmare which is much more than a humanitarian crisis. It is a crisis of humanity, and the situation is beyond catastrophic. Everyone we passed, everyone we spoke to was gaunt, frail, emaciated, hungry. Everybody was doing this for food.
Allen also said Israel refused to allow equipment such as kits for midwives to be sent to Gaza, although they are urgently needed for pregnant women.
Fear is just everywhere in Gaza, but especially for these pregnant women, because the doctors are reporting that they no longer see normal-sized baby. They've not seen a normal-sized baby. They don't see them. What they do see, though, tragically, more stillborn births, more stillborn babies, and more neonatal deaths.